Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we are back to another live stream slash recording of Hearthstone. So let's see, we have a tavern brawl to do today. We have a 40 to get rid of here. Let's see, do we have anybody online that wants to play? Not right now. Let me know in the chat if you do want to play. And so let's start with the tavern brawl. Let's see. We need to play 50 hunter cards, 30 murlocs, and priest and warlock cards. That'll help limit ourselves somewhat, but not really. Alright, let's see. All-star squad. Spiders and portals have had their chance. Now your choice. Pick one card from your deck and you'll get 22 copies plus 8 random class cards. Alright. So let's see. Warlock would be an odd choice here because I'm gonna pick like one Murloc. And what was my other one? Priest? We'll take a priest, yeah. So create priest deck there. And then we just need to find that one Murloc card that gets +1 for all other Murlocs. Here we go. And that's it. Easy enough. I was playing around with the chat, if you may have noticed that, and just trying to make sure everything is working and everything is working right. OBS Studio still has some issues, particularly with the Hearthstone deck tracker overlay in which it has to be reset and things just changing. So this is an interesting enough card to keep, so I'll keep that. Now at best, without any Murlocs dying, I'm going to only have a 7/7. But we shall see what happens here. The problem with doing decks like this is going to be that we're going to run out of cards very quickly. Put a copy of a random card from your opponent's hand into your hand. Alright. So we do this. We do this. We attack. We attack. And I think we've got a nice victory already set up. Tons of news if you include a bunch of announcements for Japanese games. But not really anything else super new or surprising there. Well, I actually do have a ton of news, so we probably should go into it. I'm tempted to play this some more. Let's see. Did that really help much? Well, I just want to keep playing this because I would like to see some other people's attempts at this. Because obviously the strategy that we were playing before, our opponent was playing before wasn't that strong.
The light shall bring victory.
No, I don't want to. Actually, I probably don't want to keep that. So yeah, well, I've had a interesting few days. I got my adjustable bed base installed. It was an incredible amount of extra effort because it is 185 pounds, fully assembled bed base. The freight shipping delivery guy didn't want to deliver it at all. Like, he literally was trying to drive away and say, I can't deliver it. I don't have the right furniture dolly. I don't have anything. And so I had to basically threaten his job just to make him do his job, which, I mean, the guy was a total jerk from the word go.
You wish to live
But
forever.
it got installed, and as soon as it got installed, it worked like a dream. It's incredibly different from, well, what I had before, which was basically nothing, because I had a foam mattress sitting on the top of a box springs mattress that didn't really match at all, and often caused the foam mattress to just curl on the sides, and I'd nearly roll off in the floor. Plus I was that puts me really low on the floor, which was only hurting my back more. Basically I was probably doing everything you could possibly do wrong. And now that I have a proper normal setup, the only thing it's still missing is a headboard, and it could honestly use it because it is a wall-hugging model, so it potentially rubs against the wall if you don't have it far enough away from the edge. But it's such a better thing that after having it installed, I pretty much spent the rest of that entire day sleeping in it. And frankly, it's become both the best and the worst thing in my life for a long time, because it's now this very tempting, very well suited thing. So instead of recording, now I'm very tempted to just lie in bed and go to sleep again and catch up on insomnia and lost sleep, which you never really catch up on lost sleep. So but my back ever since getting it has felt way better, so hopefully it's gonna fix that. The fact that it allows you to sit up at a it's gonna allow me to sit up, and by sitting up, in theory, that will allow me to be slightly more comfortable when doing paperwork. I'm still not anywhere to the point where I would want to try and move my microphone over to the chair. That would make me sound very bad. Even in the chair that I sit in and record, there are times when I'm slouching and bored, and I probably don't sound as full of air as I would by sitting up straight. And often in the chair itself is still not super comfortable, so I'll do that and get up and readjust myself, sit up straighter in the chair, which often puts me closer to the microphone, and I have to be careful not to talk when doing that, hopefully. But the main and really only illegitimate complaint about the bed is the fact that it's now too comfortable. Yeah. I would highly recommend to anybody who is having any back pain, any trouble sleeping whatsoever, think about getting an adjustable bed base, and getting it probably a lot earlier than you would realize. young people, it certainly wasn't my experience, and it has been for other people that I've interacted with, tend to neglect their betting setup, and it's a cliche and it's said a lot, but you are going to probably spend half of your life asleep, so you need to be as comfortable, as well protected from damage. I imagine I was damaging my back every single night before I had this bed base, and making things worse every single night. And that's just not a smart move.
Shall bring victory.
So I guess we're just gonna stick with the Tavern Brawl and get the Murlocs done. People have seen me play my other Murlocs deck so many other times that it might as well try something unique. This Murloc Tidecaller isn't the synergy of all synergies. This will be interesting, actually. The question is, he's struck out to do something that will cause me to have to play 2 mana each turn. So he's gonna try and drain my mana or do more and more damage to me by cursing me. Which isn't a terrible thought, honestly, as a strategy. Unfortunately, I am just gonna get the upper hand because I can do this, and that puts me 18 to 24. Even if he curses me 2 more times, I can next turn play 1 and 1 and probably win. And see, the way he has it set up, he's guaranteed a loss. It's not a bad strategy. These 1-card strategies aren't terrible. Gosh, I need to hurry, don't I? Geez, somebody needs to get on and want to play me or something, because I'm going to be finished with everything. I've had an incredible hard time trying to play Broken Sword 5. It's not very good. Hey Travis, I see you on the chat. You've wanted to play me for for about a week now. So as soon as this game is gone, if you want to send me, do I have you as a friend request? I think this is him.
The light shall bring
So
victory.
if you want to come online, I am more than happy to help showcase any of your games, or we can just play whatever. If you don't, that's cool too. So I've got a lot of news here that I guess I need to kind of hurry, and potentially this is going to be a shorter stream. Then I can try and bang my head against Broken Sword 5, which is, man, it is boring and not that good of a game in the same thing. And it's crashy. It's supposed to be on average a 10-hour game. It's already crashed 7 times, and I'm only halfway through the game. And so the Broken Sword series is really going to end with a whimper, because I like the original version of Broken Sword 1 and 2, which are unplayable. I don't like the remasters of 1 and 2, and I didn't like 3 or 4, and I'm not liking 5, so it feels a little odd as a video game critic to go through 5 games in a series and at the end kind of know you're just going to say, well, it all sucks. Travis says, I made a new account plus on break at work, sorry. Maybe we could play during Monday or Tuesday if you stream, because I have those days off. Let's see, what is today? yeah, let's see. Today is Friday, so in 3 days we'll have 3 more daily quests. So that would be Monday, and I think that might be Monday, July the 2nd, or July the 3rd, or maybe even July the 4th, and the July the 4th holiday will be happening in the United States. So yep, that probably is a good day to stream. Honestly, I guess for July the 4th, if I was going to play a game, any holiday that I try to cover, it inherently makes it a month long. So instead of making a game and playing it on Valentine's Day only, I spend the entire month of February covering a Valentine's Day thing. So if I was going to do July the 4th, it would just be all of July would be Independence Month, because I have to rephrase it that way. But I'm not sure exactly what games I should cover. I guess maybe I could have covered the what is it? Wolfenstein: The New Colossus if it was out, so maybe next year, if I haven't played that game before then. That might work. Oh, this guy may have found a way to defeat me. Or I could try to play Homefront, because that's a game about North Korea invading, North Korea secretly China invading the United States. But the sequel wasn't very good, and the first wasn't that great, so I really am not heavily motivated to play Homefront. I was about to win here, and they have figured out a way to stop me from winning. Unless I just get really lucky here. Travis says, gotta go back to work, but see you later. Well, thanks for popping in, Travis. Yeah, even people who pop in and watch for a minute is still helpful. Like, my channel is nowhere big enough to the point where people popping in for a second and leaving hearts it. In fact, I don't even think PewDiePie getting small pop-ins and pop-outs like that hurts his channel, because it's all views as far as I understand on YouTube. So coming in, saying 3 comments and leaving is incredibly helpful, and more than many other people do, because a lot of people don't ever get in the chat. I look at the analytics and I'll see the live stream has 5 views, and I'll know for a fact that nobody got on the chat in that stream. So thanks for watching as much as you can, Travis, and thanks to anyone else that's watching. Yeah, I'm not sure though what other games would be a good July the 4th game to try or Independence Day to try to play. Since it's a US only holiday, and all the other countries, or a lot of the other countries, have Independence Days too, it's not very much of a global holiday anyways. And there aren't any games that center around the British being the enemy that much, so we couldn't go for the historical perspective and play a game where the British were the enemies. Maybe I could do something like Dishonored and try to put a spin on it, or do something where the British are the good guys, and we could say spin it the other way, but that would probably be insulting and controversial to say. Let's go yay Britain on Independence Day, particularly since I'm not British. That might be funnier if Jim Sterling did it, since he is originally British. Anyways, moving on with news. The Steam sale, the PlayStation sale, the Amazon Prime Day sale is all coming up. Right now, Sears appliances are 40% off, plus an extra 10% off if you're buying washers and dryers. Like, July 4th sales are going on everywhere. All of these sales right next to each other. It's a little overwhelming. I kind of wish the Steam sale would maybe find itself in a different place, but you know, the PlayStation sale, the good old game sale, all of those are probably directly built around the Steam sale, so if the Steam sale changes its date, the others would change their date to compete with it. Hearthstone's next expansion is going to be announced July... I didn't write the date down. Sometime next week, sorry. At 7 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. I got the time down, and I didn't write down the thing. The rumor is that it's going to be the Lich King related, which, okay, cool. I don't know anything about World of Warcraft, but I've heard of the Lich King. And I know what a Lich is, and I assume the Lich King is potentially a ripoff of the Dark Lord Sauron from Lord of the Rings. So that doesn't immediately jump into anything amazing. There possibly, if it's on that thing, there might be a ring. There might be a lot of liches. There might be some other elements, like, let's see, there might be ring race, there might be hobbits. It probably will be a heavier magic expansion and not have like mechs and not have trickery. But I mean, I'm really stretching to even get to that part. So I'll be interested. We are right in line for the next expansion. Maybe about 500 gold short of what I would have, which I would have preferred, because I'm almost at 10,000, and if the expansion came out next week, I might be like 150 gold below 10,000, but no big deal. Not also incredibly higher though either. So I'm not at 15,000 or 2,000 gold, and I don't think they're ever gonna let us get to that point just on doing daily quests. Moving on with the news, because we're gonna finish the stream kind of quickly at this rate. PlayerUnknown's Battleground has added a patch that lets you move while you're looting and added destructible cabins. They've also banned 25,000 cheaters in the past 3 months. So that is certainly something to pay attention to. They're going to announce the Hearthstone expansion on Twitch, by the way. I also wrote that down. I didn't write anything down well. I was frankly probably not writing well because of my pen was dying and just too big of writing, and there was a decent chunk of like Japanese games that were announced that I couldn't squeeze on them, and I'm just like, well, they don't really matter anyways because they're teasers. If you follow Gametsu versus any of the American news press, the American news press don't cover half of those announcements. A ton of them are Vita only or PlayStation 4 only in Japan. So But also, even when it is coming to PC and when it is coming to the West, which is what concerns me mostly, they have a tendency to have no less than 5 announcement articles about it, just showing off piece by piece, like, here's what this character looks like, here's what that character looks like, here is a new piece of music, here's a new trailer. Frankly, I would say Gamitsu is doing a much better job at being a video game journalist than what we see in the United States and the West, because it seems like the West articles do a lot of filtering, do a lot of censoring, and in the sense that they just say, we don't really want to cover this. They make a lot of decisions on what they don't want to cover instead of just putting out all the press releases, which I too also do, and I could see reasons, a lot of good reasons to do that, because you don't want to just bore your audience. But it also means that some facts just get left on the cutting room floor, and that sucks. Like Monster Hunter World for the PC has been delayed because of resources and manpowers. So
What to do?
I wouldn't inherently say that that's a terrible announcement. The fact that they're coming out at the beginning and just saying, look, the PC version of this game is not going to come out at the same time. We just don't have the resources and manpower for it. But it also is the beginning of a scary possibility that they just said that it was coming to PC and it really wasn't. Or they had no intention to really bring it to PC. And that would certainly suck, but I would hate that more as a precedent-setting thing. We are right now in a good position. Oh, what does this card do? Add the copies of arcane missiles to your hand. We were just now getting to the point where Japanese companies were starting to put games on PC and really embrace the PC. The last thing we need to do is have a subsect of Japanese companies start to just lie and say games are coming to the PC when they really have no intention to, and then they either give really bad PC ports or they just cancel it completely. And see, that would be the worst case scenario here. Is Monster Hunter World, a game that potentially would be an attempt to convince the West to embrace Monster Hunter games, says it's coming to PC, delays it almost immediately, potentially delays it several more times, just the PC version, and then eventually just says we're going to cancel it, we're not going to release it. And even if they were internally working on it, if the same outcome remains the same, that there's an announcement of a PC version of any game, and then after many delays it doesn't come out, that's not great. That's not great. Moving forward, the SNES Classic has been announced. I think I already talked about it. Turns out the connectors on the front are fake, and they flip down to the standard, to the connectors that were on the NES Classic, which are those extra connectors that I imagine they still have a warehouse for, that you would connect the Wii Nunchuck to. I might as well just play this. So while the SNES Classic controllers will have longer cords, although we don't know how long they actually are, the connectors on the front are for facade, and that seems crazy. It could, I suppose, be worse. It could be that the front has facade connectors and you have to plug the controllers to the back of the machine. But whatever. We didn't open this. I thought we did. I must not be that desperate for cards, because I would have opened this pack. So, a little bit of knowledge here, I heard. Total Biscuit has been specifically getting all gold cards. Or I think all gold cards, if not all gold legendaries. And every expansion, he has been spending $300 per expansion. 300 to 400. It's actually gotten more expensive. So here you have somewhere between this where Cripperian said he was spending $150 per expansion for card packs and not getting all gold legendaries, and Total Biscuit has been saying he's been spending 300 to 400 per expansion and getting them all. So you kind of know how crazy expensive this game has gotten, and I'm glad that they've made some changes to sort of address that, but they really haven't addressed it enough. Frankly, they need to make some major changes to make it cheaper and be a little less greedy. And they've also made a little bit of a change to the Overwatch loot boxes to make them less greedy too, but it's not going to be great. Hearthstone needs a change of heart. Speaking of Blizzard, the remastered version of StarCraft 2, I believe, is gonna, or StarCraft 1, I think, actually, is gonna be out pretty soon here for $15. I think I wrote that down somewhere. So I may mention that again. That will certainly be a interesting purchase option for me. I don't think I'm gonna get it brand new or pre-ordered or anything, but maybe at some point in the future, if I could ever afford it, I would get it. It's one of those few games that's not on Steam that I'm willing to buy because I'm already doing Hearthstone. Do I have a random beast in my hand? Yes. So that powers that up, and then I end the turn. The SNES Classics will have different versions for the Japan and the Western version. As far as I can tell, there's no other different version, so like the European version seems to be the same as the American version. They will have more units than the NES Classic, but only for this year. It's still a limited release, and if Nintendo had just said that for the NES Classic, people would have been better off. Star Fox 2 will be included, but it is a lot of what Star Fox 2 is simply converted, was converted into Star Fox 64. So people may play that game and see a few different things, but they may very possibly think that it feels very familiar, or that it just has major elements. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if the general story beat is the same, the level layout is the same, and that the graphics are just the only thing that really changes in the controlling. Let's see. I don't know the full story behind this, but I would like to know. But the former CEO of Playdead, who made Limbo and Inside, and he co-founded Playdead Studios, has now co-founded a new studio and left Playdead to a new studio called Jump Ship. So the statement here and the joke here is that he's jumping ship, and to me this feels very much like there's some bad blood going on here. Unless I missed something where Playdead was acquired by some big company and he just wanted to remain independent. And there's something of a kind of codependence there too, because he co-founded Playdead, and now he's co-founding another company. So whoever this guy is, I didn't write down his name. I think I did. No, I guess I didn't on that story. Sorry, not enough facts on my news reporting. He either doesn't have a skill set or doesn't have the confidence in his skill set. Otherwise, he would just start his own company and make himself the boss, I would think. But maybe he doesn't have the funding. So Jumpship's first game is called Somerville. So we can look forward to that at some point. In a somewhat similar story, Prey's creative director and founder of Arcane Studios, makers of Prey and Dishonored, Ralph Colantonio, has stepped down. So this sounds a little scary for Arcane Studios. Bethesda, owned by ZeniMax, and Arcane Studios, owned by ZeniMax. This potentially feels like maybe they're not going to make any more. They're not going to make any more Prey games or Dishonored games, and while they're at it, they may. Do they make the Deus Ex games too, or is that a different company? Is that a ZeniMax company? I don't remember. So, yeah, that doesn't bode well for Arcane Studios, but being under ZeniMax didn't really bode well for Arcane Studios either. ZeniMax has been buying up companies and then, while not treating them horribly, not really doing a great job with them too. Remember, Bethesda hasn't even started working on the next Elder Scrolls game, and they probably won't until Elder Scrolls Online stops making the money. They have some other things certainly going on, but it wouldn't surprise me if there's some talk in the background of them slowing down or them going in directions that he didn't want to go. But then again, he may have stepped down for a completely different reason too. So we will have to wait and see what this really means, because all we can do is speculate right now. The Division is still getting updates, surprisingly, so its 1.7 update has added global events, classified gears, and commendations. Sadly, it's not probably going to add more players or make that game interesting. Princess Maker 3 is now on Steam. It's a 1997 parenting simulator game that was popular in Japan, particularly. And number 1 is available for purchase too, although I think it's a remake of number 1 and number 2. So you can get up to 3 now on that series, but I think in Japan they are up to probably closer to 7, maybe 12 if I was just to randomly guess some numbers. Random minion in your hand, +1, +1. How about we just do this?
That's not a valid target.
Alright, so we have to do that. And then that, and then in return. Toshiba has a new QLC style flash that's paving the way to cheaper SSDs and 1.5 terabyte SSDs. So we can look forward to that probably in a year or two. At a certain point, we are going to have to just go to like full SSD systems, and get rid of hard drives. And I'm not sure if that's actually going to help me in my setup as much as it will help other people. Like, I could see many regular people being happy with 1.5 terabytes only of SSDs, whereas I still kind of need the 10, the 20 terabyte hard drives to be things that are commercially available or prosumer available at prices that are reasonable, because I'm making so much content and games are getting bigger. Elite Dangerous players finally find a Thargoid machine. It's labeled a machine. I would have called it a ship. And they fly through it and investigate it. Apparently, there wasn't anything extremely exciting about it other than the fact that it's there and people are still playing Elite Dangerous. To steal Jim Sterling's phrase, "Oh, Ubisoft," Ubisoft cannot help itself after taking a year off to get the Assassin's Creed Origins right and not just annualize and try to get cheap money out of Assassin's Creed. They announced Assassin's Creed Rebellion, which is a cell phone Fallout Shelter style game with 2D chibi, if you know what chibi, which are small kind of toy-like versions of Assassins, that's free to play. So they're perfectly, Ubisoft is still perfectly fine with exploiting Assassin's Creed to make money on the cell phone. They're just now going to try to do better jobs on the PC. And I honestly doubt very many people are going to even call Ubisoft out for that. Hearthstone's Rogue Quest. So the Journey of Unguru quest for the Rogue, which was to play 4 characters of the same name to get Crystal Cove, which made all characters have a 5/5. That is going to be nerfed in the next expansion, which I think by far is the newest and quickest nerf we've ever seen in the Hearthstone. Like, it's only been a couple of months since that came out, and it's already been nerfed. Which, I guess inherently that says they didn't beta test, they didn't think their cards through, or they didn't care. And I certainly wouldn't want to see this become the new normal. I wouldn't want to have it become very expected that that cards just get changed willy-nilly as very often, very early. Some of the older cards took probably a year plus to get nerfed. Let's see. One of the games that was announced at E3, A Plague Tale Innocence, looks very ratty in the sense that it's full of rats and gross. So that'll be interesting. And there's some talk of whether the Shadow of the Colossus remake will actually be different, or if it's simply gonna just be a shot for shot, bit for bit remake. There's a few tweaks that, since this is kind of a remake, they could do. They could certainly also add more Colossi that allegedly had to be cut from the original version of the game. So that'll be interesting when that comes out, to see if it's a good remake, if it's a different remake. How come my guy lost all his extra things? Must have been sent back to my hand. Yeah, he sent him back to my hand with the sap. Twitch affiliates will soon be able to have paid subscription tiers. So if you watch a lot of Twitch, you're gonna see that. Why is the music gone quiet? I went like this and the music went quiet. I don't know why.
Side effects? No. Trust me.
So if you watch a lot of Twitch, you may see that a lot of Twitch streamers are gonna heavily push people to subscribe, and if you want to subscribe and support them, that's a good thing. If you don't want to hear a lot of people asking for begging for money, it's gonna be a bad thing. Also, I found out that if you do a actual DMCA, because I don't think Twitch has a content ID system or does it differently. If you actually get a DMCA on Twitch, they just ban your ability to stream in your entire channel for 24 hours, and they don't really put any kind of notice up or anything like that. So since like there's a 3-strike policy and Google works real hard to not allow people to send real DMCAs and instead do DMCA like things, at the very least your entire channel doesn't get taken down with one claim. So for me personally, that builds right into the idea that I don't think I would ever be happy or feel very safe streaming on Twitch as my only way of doing things. Let's see. Moving on, GameStop is giving away fidget spinners with the Crash Bandicoot Insane trilogy. So that's what they've sunk to as far as their advertising. Nintendo Switch sales have surpassed 1 million in Japan. Pinball FX3 has been announced, and the majority of the previous content will carry over for free. That's for PS4, Xbox One, and PC though. So if you have any of the previous systems, you're not going to get Pinball FX3 at all. G2A is going to start telling buyers the information from sellers in a small attempt to be more legitimate, I would say. The G2A still got some problems, but there's definitely some work that needs to be done. We're gonna just go long here. We've gone about 45 minutes, but I think there's not another 45 minutes in this. Like 1 or 2 more games in which I play Hunter cards, and then the daily quest will be done. Over approximately 300,000 copies of Rust have been refunded. That's a lot of copies, but it's not super surprising either, because a lot of people promoted Rust and talked about it and showed it on their YouTube channels, and that game is not incredibly fun if you don't have a bunch of friends with you. Let's see. There's a Futurama cell phone game that came out kind of for no reason as far as I can tell. Super Bomberman R has added an update, and I'm surprised that they're still updating it, but I guess I'm glad they are, because that game was pretty buggy to begin with. But one of the parts of the update is they added a bunch of other games from their from the Konami lineup, so you can now as Pyramid Head and the main character from Castlevania, I believe, which is pretty odd in my opinion. Infinite Warfare's new Proteus rifle accidentally included an aimbot, so how you do that, I don't know, other than to assume that all of the rifles must have some kind of auto aim in them, and the reporting is just kind of sensationalizing that and saying that it had a aimbot in the sense that it was simply doing more auto aiming than it should have. Let's see. StarCraft Remastered releases August for $15. We already talked about that. August 15th. Well, in August. A bit of fake news actually occurred in the video game industry. The Mass Effect DLC is not canceled. At least they're not saying it's canceled yet. Let's see. Valve support and refunds skyrocketed during the Steam summer sale. So, no real surprise there, because in a funny way, Valve has done a very good job of convincing people to buy games and try games that they wouldn't have normally tried in its discovery queue. And I think part of that is certainly because of the Steam review bombing of Take-Two games. Like, just getting the massive amount of Take-Two games that they publish to not be rated very highly has seemed to open the pathway to a lot of new games and a lot of other games to be seen. There are also a lot of new games that are just being thrown out now in the discovery queue, and it says it now, and it makes it feel a lot better when it says we're suggesting this game to you just to see if you might like it. Now, I did manage to go to a game that Steam literally said to me, you have not played any games like this at all, so we don't know why you're here. Basically, I'm paraphrasing here, but they said this. They said this game is not like any of the games you previously played, and so there still is definitely elements and games out there that the Discovery update cannot find a justification to show you, and thus you're still not getting suggested everything, which is fine, I guess, because if you were just suggested everything, and you will get suggested everything eventually if you just go through all the Discovery queue. If you've looked, I've looked at about 3,000 games. By the time I see about 12,000 games, in theory, I should have seen everything that Steam has to offer. Paradox Interactive has acquired Triumph Studios, the creators of Overlord. That would be interesting if that means that they actually make an Overlord 3. I still need to play Overlord 2, just because I covered Overlord 1. They're not firing anybody or anything like that, so far so good. It seems like it's one of those acquisitions that might be a good thing, might give them more money to keep on working. NVIDIA's newest update, the 384.76, causes Watch Dogs 2 to crash. Right at the same time, Watch Dogs 2 is adding a 4-player party mode for July 4th. So I imagine Ubisoft is not happy about that happening. So don't update it there if you've got that. Now, a lot of announcements that I've squeezed at the bottom, like Warriors All-Stars for PS4 and PC is coming August 29th in North America. Let's see. Konami Tecmo is doing a bunch of PlayStation VR titles, including Dead or Alive Beach Volleyball or something accorded to that. There were several other games that I announced. There's a new Kirby game on the 3D eShop. Namco Museum is coming to Switch on the 28th, which frankly that's probably going to be a decent expansion to the Switch's limited lineup. And let's see. There's a couple of Japanese anime games that have been announced. So the Seven Deadly Sins, the Britannian Traveler has been announced. The Seven Deadly Sins is based on a manga that then got animated, I think, by Netflix. It's on Netflix. The first season I liked. The second season was more of just a bunch of OAVs, as I would describe it. Just small 6 episodes that kind of did some cleaning up of the story and just some side stories. And since there was a big gap between watching the first season and the second season, I didn't really follow along that well. Wasn't that interested. Somehow I made it to rank 18 here. I'd like to continue to make it to rank 18. Another anime that's out right now is a game called Is It Wrong to Try to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon, and that's going to be an RPG game. And so it's been moderately consistent for them to try to sell anime properties, manga properties as multimedia things. So it's not incredibly crazy that we've got a couple announced, but they've been a little bit more laid back on that too. They've not wanted to try to flood the market with a video game version in the West of every single possible game, or every single possible anime. Like every season in Japan, you have 30 to maybe even 60 anime movies and shows that come out, and that's summer, winter, fall, spring potentially. And if we had 30 to 60 video games come out in the West that were all kind of low effort, just ports, which there's a decent chance that these two will just be low effort ports that aren't extremely helpful or welcome. It would really flood the market, and I don't think the video game and the PC market is quite ready for that. We kind of need to slowly adapt to what Steam is, and the last thing we need to do is make Steam more like Steam and have more games announced all the time. That being said, if you compare some of the indie games that are just made in RPG Maker and put on Steam versus the level of effort that some of these anime to video game transitions would be, in all honesty, you might be better off doing the you might be better off playing having anime games on Steam come out all the time and get rid of the RPG makers and the cheap asset flips. At the very least, there are some people trying, and in the anime games, it's just that frankly half of the 30 and 60 animes that come out a season, maybe 5 or 10 of them will be memorable even a year later. In the same way that of the 30 to 60 probably new TV shows that come out in the United States each season, how many of those are going to be memorable? Number's not going to be high. And then the last thing I have on my thing is it turns out Steam review bombing works, which is sort of surprising. It doesn't work with the discovery queue though, because there's plenty of games that I'm getting shown that are marked as highly negative and they still consider them popular. But they may be stretching the definition of the phrase popular to mean, well, it's popular in the fact that a large population of people are playing the game even and rating the game, even if they're rating it very negative. But we have seen, or a report I saw has seen that those spikes in negative things do show up. They are noticeable, and there's a couple of different ways. Like, everybody's probably heard now that people are upset with Rockstar and Take-Two for doing cease and desist on Open 4, and there's been really no update on that, even though Open 4's internal updater updated something. There's been no statement or anything like that, and you, last I heard, still can't download Open 4 now. But at the very least, I would say in the past week, Take-Two and Rockstar haven't sent out any more cease and desist as far as the can go. But so that story's been covered. But when Nier Automata came out, it was also heavily negatively reviewed for a very different reason, and it's kind of a very interesting reason too. When I apply the politics that I think I sort of understand in China, because it was heavily Nier Automata, a Japanese game, was heavily downrated and down-reviewed. And the reason that's being stated in this article for that is not what I would have assumed, which is that the Chinese government doesn't like Japan, therefore they were going to try to just downvote it. Instead, it seems that the actual Chinese people, in this case, wanted to play this Japanese game because they do like to play Japanese games. They're just not, I think, technically legally allowed to. I think there's some technical, it has to be rated and approved, and only a certain number of things are rated and approved. There's a lot of things that are technically illegal in China, and the people that know how to get around it just fine. It is also worth recognizing that there's a big differences in the different levels of class in China, even though they try to hide it. So if somebody in China is rich enough to own a PC and play those games, they are probably members or children of members of the richer classes.
Run away.
Just gonna kill this guy. So that's kind of an awe-inspiring moment for me, particularly, that to hear the Chinese people actually demand localization. Now, will the Japanese people do it? No, because the Japanese people don't like the Chinese people much either. And frankly, if you can't legally sell your game on there, them negatively reviewing the game doesn't really matter. I wouldn't be surprised if some Japanese companies come back and say, look, we would like Steam to block these users, or we'd like the ability to block people in China from even purchasing or playing the game. Like, I could see a lot of conservative Konamis and And let's see, who are some others that might do something like that? Ubisoft might do that, but they're not a Japanese company. But yeah, I could highly see that their solution to the vote bombing would be just stop these players from owning the game in the first place. And I could see the Chinese government also saying that. Or I could see the Chinese government just leaving everything as it is, because the government's policies are the things that are stopping the games from legally being sold, unless I'm totally wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure I'm not. And inherently it would be nice if their policies would change and they would crack down on and stop encouraging people to make cheap rip-offs and selling copyright infringing games. Like, it would be very, very hard for me to get into playing Chinese games as they are now, because that's gonna be a ton of games that won't be localized to English, so it's a two-way street. It's gonna be a ton of games that are gonna suffer from being rip-offs or just being bad games. There's a lot of Chinese MMOs out there that I couldn't cover just for time reasons. There's certainly a high level of not understanding of Chinese many varied cultures for being such a large land mass is what I meant to say there. So yeah, I don't know, because they're in this industrialization and some sections of China are highly technical and many sections of China are highly untechnical. It's hard to know what their culture is, and I don't know. I'm feeling more like I lost the plot on this conversation. Yeah, I'm just gonna end the turn here. Do I have an explosive trap? Nope. But yeah, I guess from taking a step back and getting away from the specific country of China, there are games out there in countries that I would like to see more localized. I'd like to see Steam be the middle ground in which all of that happens. There's clearly an opportunity here in the case of Steam to try to convert the people that are downvoting a game because it's not localized into something else. Like, I would like to convert those people into people who could click a button and say something like, I want it in my language. Please localize this. Please add voice acting to this. There's a ton of, from my perspective, there is a ton of Japanese visual novels and English visual novels from the West that simply don't have full voice acting. And as a YouTuber, I've said this many times, I'd kind of like to play some of those games, but I can't do it if I have to sit there and talk the whole time. That's too much work. I tried it on the Taos Principle, reading all of the text there. It didn't work. My voice isn't something I'm incredibly happy with, personally. I also say a lot, particularly on these streams, and I don't didn't even know I was doing it as much as I was doing it until I went back and listened to a video a couple days ago. But yeah, I just kind of demand that element of full voice acting, and I too also demand full localization. I can't go play a game if it's in a language I don't understand unless it's an incredibly simple game. So are we done here? Hopefully. No, we still need to play 2 more hunter cards. Well, we've gone 25 minutes over, so I wasn't fully on the ball there. Like, this could have been 2 recordings, one 45 minutes, one 30 minutes at this rate, but whatever. And it's last thing I need is more recordings of Hearthstone. I need more recordings of everything else.
I will fight with honor.
And I'm trying to play Broken Sword 5 now, and I'm doing 30-minute episodes, and even at 30-minute episodes, it really just gives me more time to find excuses to take a break and not get back to playing the game. Like, I barely do an hour's worth of recording, and then I say, you know what, I'm gonna go do something else, and come back 2 hours later. I heard a podcast I was listening to where they said that artistic people need a lot of downtime, and somebody who is very artistic, I think Mozart, only worked 4 hours a day, and I'm like, oh, that's probably getting close to how much I work, but frankly I don't think I'm that artistic, and my desire to create content is higher than that. I started this channel kind of jokingly on the basis of if you can't do quality, do quantity, and I'm still certainly trying to do that. And there's just so many games to play. Over 760 games now with the most recent summer sale, and I didn't even spend a lot of extra focus to get to that. I barely was just sweeping up the few things that were reasonable to purchase in the summer sale. There's still a lot of bundles in the last series that I haven't even begun to get. A lot of things that are still too expensive. Let's see. So I've got this done already. Speaking of sweeping up, one of the weird mini problems of Broken Sword 5 is that when you only in a few cases do you actually take an item out of your pocket and show it to somebody. So a lot of times you are making the movements like you're taking something out of your pocket, but there's nothing in your hand. And to put a cap on that ridiculousness, at one point one of the characters is sweeping up, mopping up blood on the floor. They take the bloody mop and then they put it in their coat pocket, and the mop, like a cartoon, just disappears on it. And that's totally not what this game has been about at all. So I have no idea what they were even thinking there, to just have this cartoony element in the middle of a murder mystery adventure game. So
We're gonna be rich.
let's do this. and then this, and then this, and then in the turn. Almost done. Now, because this was a shorter stream, nobody else besides Travis got on the chat. I can't really complain about that, though. We're right around the July 4th time. I imagine not that many people are going to be watching YouTube during July 4th. They'll try to... One would hope they would try to hang out with their families and do things outside, but, you know, this summer, from what I can hear, is being also incredibly hotter than normal, so I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people do stay inside and not do the usual July 4th barbecue stuff. So he's gonna have to do something to stop this guy, otherwise I think I've got it. We do this, and then this, and then in the turn, and either I've lost, which I probably have, or he takes me on.
Does not discriminate.
There we go. So we did it. We got everything we needed to do done. I think we did, at least. Yes, we did. We're ready for the next expansion. I'm happy to see the next expansion, frankly. So we did maybe 1 or 2 arena runs, which would have been about 300, which would have, on top of that, been only about 25 short to be at 10,000. But we're close enough. We got our goal done. I'll be back in 3 more days. That's going to be it for this stream. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos if you can. That all helps me with YouTube, tells them that my videos are worth watching. If you want to friend or follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Google+, which is celebrating its 6-year anniversary, which is amazing. Google+, Steam, or Battle.net. All of those links are down below in the description box. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.